Well, welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Picciuto. I'm joined by the one and only Alexis Reed. Alexis, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty great.
That's good. Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners to who you are?
Okay, I mean, it depends on if they have 5 minutes to spare for that one.
We have an hour.
Well, true, but like I don't want to take up too much of their time because sometimes when people are like, "What do you do?" I'm just like, "How much time you got?" Because it's not 2 sentences. Although in the world of business, they're like, if you can't say what you do in 2 sentences, like you've already lost the attention of people. And I'm like, I feel like I might keep them around because I'm quite the storyteller, I've been told. But for me, I am a full-time model. I've been doing it for about 12. This is my 13th year. Wow. So one would say I'm an alumni or I need to retire, whichever you choose. And with that, I've been doing it before I moved to New York City. I've only been here for about 4 years.
Oh, nice.
And I work in the fashion industry, overseeing product development, manufacturing, design, anything that involves making a clothing brand. Like absolutely anything that goes into it. I'm talking the stitching color, the quality of stitching, the fabric, what color is the fabric going to be, everything you could possibly think of. Graphic design. I just started getting into photography. I like to paint. I do a whole lot of stuff because I think it's just more or less we're such intellectual beings that like we're fully capable of doing more than just one thing. True. So I try to dive in everything, and even if I suck at it, I'm just like, I'm gonna keep doing it until I get good. And if I keep sucking but I love it, I keep doing it.
I'm curious, were you always creative as like a kid?
Yeah, like before I moved to New York City, back when I had access to my dad's power tools, I was able to like build furniture and just kind of play around a little bit. Can't do that anymore because New York apartments don't really accommodate for your
space for tools.
Yeah, that and noise complaints. I can't imagine somebody would be happy hearing like a table saw just running at 10 p.m. and it's just like, I think my neighbor's committing murder.
Yeah. That sounds like a start to a true Hollywood story or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, I used to build furniture in my New York apartment until I got evicted. Yeah. So just kind of run-of-the-mill, always was very driven to be creative, to stay on the line of like what my thought processes were, how I learned, and just diving deep into those things. My parents were very in tune with that for us. They just wanted us to be who we truly were. They never really were the kind of parents that are like, you need to go to law school or you need to do this. They were always pretty supportive. Though they had different parenting techniques, they were still always like our biggest fans, even when their biggest priority was making dinner. So They were just like, I don't care what my kid did as long as it came home today.
See, I've always said like that's like been my biggest cheat code because like without like the help of my family and friends, like I don't know that I'd be doing this now. Like worked in corporate America for years. I was fucking miserable, hated my life, hated my job. And it wasn't really till losing my job during the pandemic where I was like, what can I do that's going to be like fulfilling creatively? And like I always did random things on the side, like wrote on the internet for like Elite Daily and like all these like websites and stuff. And I was like always sneaky about it. Like I wasn't telling people I was doing it. It was like on the down low. And like once the world changes and you kind of realize like the important things, I was like, fuck this. Like I just want to do stuff that like makes me happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can totally level with that. I was in healthcare for good 8 years.
What were you working in a hospital or?
I worked in a direct care facility. They were state funded and bought out homes. Oh. And they moved individuals in that had developmental or physical disabilities.
Wow.
So they would actually place all the individuals and they'd each have their own room. They lived in an actual house. The only thing that was different from normal housing situations was they had a fire system the same way a school or a hospital has. And every house had to have a ramp in case to accommodate for individuals that come in with wheelchairs.
Wow.
So I did that for 8 years, and we were basically nurses without the pay, but with almost the same amount of training. We were pharmacists, we were therapists, we were accountants. We cooked every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and desserts. We did a lot of therapy sessions with them, coaching on the things that they want to do, and then talking to the other staffing that were capable of, helping them navigate that when they would leave for the day. Because some of them had actual jobs, and some of them would go to programs that were set up by the area I lived in. And this was primarily in New York State, too. Like, a lot of other states don't have these accommodations. Yeah. Sometimes people will even send their kids who are of that spectrum to New York State because they know how prominent and respectful to
shout out Jersey
that
and
is.
New York. They've got great social programs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that they have some here as well.
Yeah. My cousin lives in Cranford. They've got some great special ed programs and stuff like that, and it's great because you don't hear a lot about it. You always hear about like the doldrums of public education and public services, and it's nice to be in an area that has supportive programs for people who need the help.
And I think that was derived from the fact that we were the two states that were closest to the institutions that got shut down years ago. So like Willowbrook and whatnot. So there was a couple of them here. And I think that's why New Jersey and New York took that on, is because we had the primary institutions. Everyone else just had psych wards.
Yeah.
We had places for people to go.
Yeah.
But they weren't great places, but this is kind of what they saw being the evolution of that. So that's why I think these two states primarily are like so gung-ho about making sure that this is a prestigious thing to have.
I totally agree. Did you lose your job or did you leave to like pursue creative pursuits? Like what was sort of like...
I left because the day I went in, and I love my former boss, she became like one of my best friends, and she's, I want to say double my age, but the day I went in for the job interview, which wasn't even an interview. I've never had a real interview a day in my life.
You're getting interviewed right now.
Well, what I'm saying is like I've walked in and people just like talk to me. Like they barely ask me any questions. It's just more so like you got the job kind of thing. So they're just like doing formalities. I've never in my life gone in and just like, here's my resume. Me wearing a nice outfit, nothing.
Yeah.
I've never had a traditional in my life.
I've been on like
things have just been like
fucking 100 job interviews.
I've never had to.
Never again.
Yeah.
But like I did 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It's always been weird for me. Like I'm just like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
Like how does a job interview work? I don't know. And I've never really had to redo my portfolio or redo my resume since like when I had to make a mock one in high school because I've never needed it.
Yeah.
People are just like, you want a job? And I'm like, okay, what do I got to do? And I do it.
Yeah.
I was a big yes all the time kind of girl.
Oh, I love that.
But that job specifically, I remember the day I went in, my first day, I told my boss, I'm like, well, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here because I'm going to move to New York City someday. I'm not sure when. 8 years later. Because at that time I was going to school full-time, actually more than full-time, and I was working a full-time job. I didn't live on campus because I went to the school in my hometown, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, they were practically paying me to go to school because the shittier your family situation is, the more money the state gives you. And my family situation was pretty shitty, especially, like, not that my family is, just the situation.
Yeah, financially, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between that and just, having so many siblings, like my parents did not believe in cable TV apparently. So,
Nice. How many siblings do you have?
I'm one of 6 biological. I have 2 step siblings, and then I have an adopted sister, and my dad's girlfriend right now has her own son. So technically, as of right now, being a 30-year-old woman, I have 10. There's 10 of us.
Wow.
Well,
Shit.
9, but yeah, there's 10.
Wow. Fun Christmases, I'm assuming, right?
I didn't go home for Christmas this year because I was very overwhelmed with the fact that I gotta buy presents for how many of you fuckers? Like,
Yeah.
I got my dad, I got my dad's girlfriend, I got my mom, I got my stepdad, and then I got my stepdad's grandfather, and then I got
25 kids.
9 kids, but then some of those kids have kids of their own, and I'm just like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Like,
So I've got a big extended family. I only have 2 siblings, but like a lot of cousins. My brother has 4 kids. My sister has a kid. My cousin has 2 kids. So our Christmases are big. So we started doing like what's it called? Secret Santa.
Okay.
But we're only doing one person.
we can't even do that.
Yeah, it's still too many people.
Yeah, because I'm like, what am I supposed to like do? At the same time, I'm like, what do I buy
Yeah.
my siblings? There's
So many of them.
Yeah, it's just like some of them need certain things, and like that at the same time, like the things that they want now, because they're all kind of older, is like they want expensive shit.
Yeah.
Like my brother's like, can I have an Xbox game? I'm like, that's $70.
I know.
Like your spend is $10 and maybe a pack of gum, my guy. So, but circling back to your question though about like how'd I come to like leave that job, was just I saw the most perfect window for when I could leave, and I did everything in my power to make sure that I had no other choice but to leave and come here. So like I quit my job of 8 years. I left my apartment, which was the first apartment that I lived in since moving out at 18. More than a year. I moved every single year of my life.
God bless you.
And it was atrocious.
The worst.
Highly don't recommend.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Worst.
But some of them were, circumstantial. Like, the roof caving in, or my landlord's calling me every name in the book except for the C word to my face.
Jesus.
So realistically, there was all these things that I just had to get out of. But I left my last apartment, which was my favorite one, and sold my car, and I just made it so there was absolutely no way that I could back down from this. And I told myself I was going to leave my hometown with a specific dollar amount. I worked my ass off for 6 months, because 6 months prior to moving to New York City, I lost everything. Like, I lost my physicality, my financial stability. I had money stolen.
Oh, no.
One of my teeth broke in my mouth on my way out of my first trip out of the country. And there was just so much packed into 4 days where I just lost everything that made me mentally stable. And I told myself, I'm never letting this happen again.
Was this like a relationship situation? Or
no, it was just like so many things just fell on me in the matter of 4 days. Just a lot of things that realistically not even money could fix.
Yeah.
Somebody could have handed me $10,000 right there, and I'd been like, well, this is fine, but this is not going to fix what just happened.
Yeah.
So,
when you get dumped on like that over like a really short period of time, like what got you through that?
Honestly, I remembered going right back to work, but I also remembered that I had to go and see the doctors before I went back to work, because to circle to this whole situation, I was in Jamaica. I was told about this fantastic trip, and it was. Like, just because I went through hell does not mean that the trip wasn't bad. It's just that the things that happened to me. Like, I was told I needed this tooth ripped out of my mouth because I have a lot of dental issues genetically. My teeth aren't made to live up to their most people's lifespan. Mm-hmm. So this tooth broke, and I was just like, okay. And it broke in the middle of my flight out to Jamaica, and my mom was just like, well, you could go to Walmart and get. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to Jamaica. There is no freaking Walmart.
I'm on the plane. Yeah,
there probably isn't a Walmart.
No, probably
and if
not.
there is, it's going to be nowhere near me.
Yeah. There's no Walmart.
Yeah, and it was like cutting my tongue open the whole time I was there. God. So I was just like nauseous the whole time, drinking my own blood like a little vampire. And but I survived in between the buffet and that.
Yeah.
And I had money taken out of my account, like wired in some weird way. Like, I connected to some internet in the airport, which at this point, the only place I've ever gone to is Canada, and Canada's pretty safe, for the most part. And I had money wired out of my account, and
she got hacked.
Yeah, so then they locked my debit card, so like the only money I had was whatever cash I had on me, but I didn't know until I got back into the States. So I'm just living in La La Land, shooting on the beach, just minding my own fucking business, and not even knowing that I'm coming back to literally nothing, like absolutely nothing. And I got attacked by a couple hundreds of fire ants the night before I had to leave, and like
in bed.
No, I was on the beach.
Oh,
I was shooting
God.
with a photographer, and I was like, I think I'm getting bit. And he's like, just keep shooting. And I looked down, and I was covered with ants. And one of the workers was like screaming, go in the water, go in the water. And I did. But the bugs were still biting me when I was in the water, because at that point, they're fucking drowning. So, like, I don't blame them for trying to latch onto whatever. But it took me 6 months to heal.
Oh, my God.
Like, these bug bites were all over me. Like, all over me.
Wrong. Can't fire ants like kill people?
They can in an extensive amount, and I certainly had like adrenaline running through my system. Like, there was poison in my system, so mentally I was not okay between adrenaline rushes and like the amount of poison that was in my body. So to be quite honest with you, it was just it was not a fun time, and I was dealing with, as you said, like a relationship thing. I booked an Airbnb to come to the city after, because I was like, I got to quarantine anyways. This was also during COVID.
Oh, my God.
This was September.
Yeah.
During 2020.
Yeah.
And this was also a trip that I knew no one on.
I lost my job in September of 2020.
Damn.
Yeah.
So we were both in the gutter, just in different ways.
It's so funny because I've heard I'm sorry to interrupt your story.
No, you're
I've
okay.
heard so many similar people experiencing something like catastrophic during COVID that like totally strategically shifted their life.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through this like 4-day period where you're like, what the actual fuck is going on? How do you get to the other side of that? Like, how do you get through that?
A lot of it was truly like in abundance to like all that stuff kind of swept into one little category. Basically, like I went back to work and I had the end goal in mind was don't let it stay this bad. Mm-hmm. And I just kept telling myself, no one is going to save me. I need to fix this.
I love that.
No one's going to save me. No one's going to save any of us.
Yeah.
Realistically. If you want something bad enough, you need to fucking go get it. And I was sitting there every year after year saying, why can't I move to New York City yet? Like, why am I not taking the dive? And like, people would always be like, just go there with like, $1,000, you make it happen. I was like, absolutely not. Yeah. I'll make it happen for a month. And then gotta come home. Like there was no way in hell that I was going to do that. Cause I was like, this is something I've wanted my whole life. And for a while there, I started thinking like I was letting other people convince me that I needed to be in New York because they were saying themselves like, oh, you belong there, you're a model, blah, 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 this and that. Which I was told this when I was younger just because I was skinny with a big chest. And I was just like, just because you look like a lollipop doesn't mean you're a model. It's just no one in my town looked like me. And a lot of girls didn't really understand. Like they were just confused as to why. Regardless of all those points, it's just like I kept telling myself, I know what I want. I'm the only one that's going to put any work in to get it. Like, no one's going to truly help me. People, of course, planted seeds to, like, get me to, like, some type of area where I was better. Like, I'm not going to say that I completely did it on my own. However, once I saw the floodgates opening to where, like, okay, like this is actually like starting to show like all these problems were starting to dissipate. Like a lot of my issues when I even moved to New York City like vanished. Oh. Because it just really showed that all my issues were because I was living in a place that wasn't for me. Ooh. Like all my issues started accumulating. Not because I'm a true believer in the law of attraction. I do not believe that everything happens for a reason because fuck that. Kids with cancer. Like, come on now. Well, I'm sure there's, I'm not going to sit here and tell someone else that they're wrong for believing.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah. That's totally okay. It's just
It's not like a carte blanche.
Yeah. It's more or less I've seen way too many just sad, fucked up things from myself to truly believe it. For me to be a true cynic about that.
I totally respect that.
However, I do also believe that like the law of attraction is like the more negativity that you spew out into the world, which I mean, I'm a complainer. I'll complain until I'm out of breath. Yeah. And I told myself that this year was the year of not complaining unless, something really freaking bad happens. I'll complain about it.
Yeah. But let it go.
But that's the thing is like, I'll complain about it to one person and I was like, oh, that felt good. Mm-hmm. And then I use all my other energy to then focus in that complaint and fix it.
Oh, I love that.
Because the last thing I'm going to do is go to the next person and be like, oh, this bullshit, when I just told this person. Yeah. Because now I'm wasting my energy telling someone new what happened when all that energy should be nurturing the problem at hand.
Totally
Because then
agree.
I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? It's wasted on me.
Agree.
It's wasted on them.
I could not possibly agree anymore. Like the law of attraction and manifestation, like for me, like I used to think, oh, it's like this hippie mojo, whatever bullshit. But then like when I look where I was, like we're getting on almost 5 years ago now, like 5 years ago, I had no frame of reference of where my life was going to go or what I was going to do. And I had like an idea of what I wanted it to be. And now my life has greatly exceeded any expectation I could have had for myself 5 years ago. And it's because I believed in myself and I believed what I could build for myself. If you don't have that belief in yourself, if you don't have that like mindset or mantra that like what's meant for me will be for me, like I'll find the things that I'm supposed to be doing, work with the people I'm supposed to be working with, grow a business, like do all these things, you won't. Like if you're like, I have conversations with girlfriends all the time, like oh, I'm like, this guy's treating me like shit, he's not the right guy for me. It's like, well, you know, if you don't believe that you're capable of and worthy of love, you're not going to be loved. Like, you're going to keep attracting people who are going to treat you poorly.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to have the mindset that what you're going to find the things that are meant for you, and then you eventually will. And it's like crazy because I've done it, and it's like, it sounds like it's just like, oh, love the pie in the sky, like, but it's fucking true. It like actually fucking works.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to New York too, like, this is what's crazy. And my old roommate used to always bring this up. She's just like, why do you keep on getting lucky? Like, I won a giveaway trip to Mexico, and then I also kept on getting all these brands sending me free stuff or paying me, and I was going to all these free dinners. And this was before I even knew about the model apps in the city. This was before that.
Yeah.
Like, people were just inviting me to things, or I would win things on Instagram or whatever. And honestly, it just, maybe I'm ignorant for saying it, but I was just like, I just feel like the hard work that I put in
Absolutely.
the place where it was such a minority thought, like, everybody looked at me because I made clothes, I designed clothes, and then I was modeling. And I was one of the few models in my area that was really going out of their way to like really push it to like the fullest capability that it could possibly be. Like, I was spending so much money on planes, trains, car rides, you name it, to go to places to model because it was not existent in my town. And I utilized my town for what I could. And like, the people that I met there, amazing people. I've met some shit people too, but they just made the amazing people that much more amazing. And realistically, like, I didn't think that coming to New York City and actually being like, I'm gonna model full time until I get a job and figure things out was real until I did it. I lived here for, I don't even know, like 8 months off of the money that I said I was gonna have in my pocket and then go to New York City. And I did that. I said 6 months when I got here, but then 8 months came around and I was like, we're about to get fucking messy if we don't do something.
Yeah.
And that came to like my friend bringing up an opportunity for me to manage a photo studio. And I was like, let's do it. I was like, I used to help my friend run fashion shows in our hometown. And like, I was also like, there wasn't an assistant manager position at my job, but I certainly felt like I was one. I was like my boss's right hand, like always helping her, like just make sure the house was going according to plan in every way, shape, or form, on paper and physically. And she even was like, because I used to always keep that shit clean and tight, whatever I could too, to make it easier for myself and the individuals that lived there. My boss would always say, if Alexis doesn't know where something is in this house, it's fucking gone. Because she knows where everything is. So she's like, if Alexis is like, I don't know where it is, like, it's lost to us.
Yeah.
It's totally missing. But
Oh, sorry, I think you said something super important. Like, someone was like, how do you keep getting lucky? Like, there's like, whatever that expression is, luck is where hard work meets perseverance, maybe?
I think I think that's correct. But I will also say, like, I remember back in the day, like, I was a huge Rob Dyrdek fan. So, like, Fantasy Factory and Big Rob and all that shit. Like,
oh, R.I.P.
So, yeah, seriously. But anyways, like, I loved that. And even I told myself, like, the day I go to LA is the day I'm going to try to, like, go to Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory and, like, all this bullshit. And not to say it's bullshit, it was always a dream. Like, I just wanted to meet him and, like, give him a hug.
Yeah.
And be like, you were one of the reasons why my childhood was, oh shit, sorry, I put my arms on the table and realized this is not the table for that.
No.
But I wanted to tell him, like, you're the reason why a lot of the things that I did came to fruition, because, like, just the way he would carry out things and talk and, like, bring people in and just kind of bring this huge collaborative, like-minded people, or even people that weren't like-minded, were, like, around him a lot. And I just really took to him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, but, like, from, say, like, junior year of high school through some part of college, he was on like 4 hours a day on MTV.
Yeah,
like, literally.
But do you remember that they conspired like this little brand and whatnot, and it was like, you make your own luck? Like, it legitimately had a bunny cutting off its own foot, and they were so cool.
Young and the Reckless or whatever.
Yeah. So it was with him and I can't even remember his name. It's been years.
His cousin.
Yes.
He's on a podcast now. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but it was
Drama.
Yes. Okay, so I remembered that specifically, and the fact of, like, the bunny cutting off his own foot, and he's like, no, like, I'm not going to let this be the narrative. I'm going to do it myself. So that just came down to the fruition of, like, you make your own luck, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not luck. It's truly like what is for you. And there's been a lot of things that I've wanted in this life, like, and I try my damn hardest to try and get anywhere near it. And I've tried. I've done everything I can, but even then, sometimes there's really barriers. Like, you can't just say, I want Sports Illustrated and expect to get it handed to you, because there's so many doors that you have to open, so many people you have to know and whatnot to even get close to that. So there are things that can be like prospered there, but it's like you really have to do your research. And I'm like, do I got time for that? Maybe not. However, it just comes all circled back to the fact of like, for myself, it was like I truly felt like the years that I put in of just taking opportunities, like I was meeting people hours away from home. Nobody knew where I was. I was driving to whatever location they told me to meet them at. And we didn't have location services. At least I don't know if we did. And if we did, it was only on Snapchat as far as I was concerned back then. And at that point, like,
big risk,
somebody
big reward.
Easily could have kidnapped me and killed me. Like,
oh my God.
Easily.
All right.
And I will say this, like, I tell people now, reference everyone. Message so many models. Talk to as many people that you see tagged on their account. Ask 2, ask 3. But the moment you have a bad gut feeling, stay away. Because the people I've had gut feelings on that I have jumped and I said, fuck it, and I went.
Bad experience.
Terrible experiences. But what's crazy is some of the most beautiful, most valuable experiences followed those people. Ooh. Which is so hard because, like, you don't know that you're about to make a mistake. And I've met some people who have put me through some crazy mental trauma. Like, there was one person that put me through therapy. Like, I legit needed a therapist for the interaction that I had with this person. However, it comes down to, like, the amount of things that came to fruition after I met those people. It's one of those, would you change what happened? Would you do something differently? And it's like, well, I can't. It's written in stone. Like, I'm a big storyteller. I could tell you about all the fucked up shit that's happened to me, that's happened to my friends, because at the end of the day, it's written. I can't change it. Yeah. I can talk about, and I can lose as much of my oxygen talking and embedding, like, what I think should have happened better. But at the end of the day, I'm like, look at all this amazing shit that happened instead of it. Because, like, Jamaica, I went on because a woman who became a mutual friend of some people I knew. I didn't know her personally. We ended up on a phone call for like 5 hours in the middle of the night one night, and we were just talking to each other. So realistically, she was the only person I knew, but she was also the only person that stimulated the thought of me going on that Jamaica trip that that I mentioned earlier. She was going and she was promoting it. And I'm like, what is this trip? Yeah. Because she was like, oh, it's about to go up $500, whatever. So I jumped, I bit the bullet, and I bought a spot on the trip for half the week. And I didn't even have a passport to leave the country. So, like, I really, really jumped the gun. Because I'm like,
talking about going out on a limb, yeah.
Yeah, because that trip to Jamaica I only knew one person. I knew of 2 people going on the trip. Yeah. That were like 2 of my dream, I want to meet them, and that was Black Tape Project, and that was Orangutan, who's a photographer in Miami. Yeah. And those were 2 people that I already knew of. So I was like, they're gonna be on this trip. Like, oh my God, not to like jump into like everything. Like, even the person who owns the Black Tape Project, Joel, who we became such good friends over the past couple of years, he is actually the person who ran that trip. So that's where, like, oh, the lines are connecting. And Orangutan, we became great friends. I traveled with them after that trip, and I love them to death. I love all of them to death. It's just we all are in different paths now with our lives. Like, if we cross paths, amazing. I'm going to give you the biggest hug ever, and let's do amazing things together. But that's where a lot of that came. It was a trip that somebody just mentioned in an Instagram story, and I was like, okay, what do I got to do? They gave me all the whatevers to make that happen. And then I got my passport, which it wasn't hard to get my passport because it was 2020. The world was shut down. Yeah, nobody wanted to travel. And like how you were even saying earlier, like, COVID was bad for you. I was like, COVID was actually really, really good for me.
In hindsight.
Well,
for me at least.
I worked in healthcare, and like anytime I was around somebody who was exposed to somebody with COVID. I had to be removed from work.
Oh, shit.
And we got sick time, which was something that they didn't have to give us. It was just accommodated to us, and I was very grateful for it. So I got removed from work a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I was around people constantly. Like when I wasn't working, I was modeling. Mm-hmm. And once I was done with school, that's all I did.
Did you got COVID like 6 times?
No, I've only ever had COVID once.
Me too.
And it's not even to be a conspiracy. It's just I never had COVID. I always tested regularly because I was working in healthcare. Yeah. And after I got the first injection, I had it for like a month. And I'm not even going to jump into it. Like, I don't want people to go crazy and be like, oh my God, that's just a lie. And it's no, I tested constantly, never had it.
For your job.
And then when I got it after my injection, I had it for weeks on end. I kept testing and it kept coming back positive. I was clearly deteriorating. I couldn't even walk up the stairs in my triplex loft. I would walk halfway down the stairs, sit, because I was so exhausted because how sick I was. And then I'd get to the table and then I'd sit there, get to the bathroom. By the time I was done with the bathroom, exhausted again, sat there for a little bit longer and like had to lift myself off of anything in the room that I could to like get up, and then I had to do it all over again. Jeez. And I was just like, sometimes I just go downstairs, grab everything I needed. Like I even like was like, I highly considered a bedpan at some point. I was like, I was like, I can't physically go down these stairs anymore because I had
3
it for
floors is
a week.
lot. Yeah.
Or not a week. I had it for a month, but like every week after week after week, it just was the same. I wasn't progressively getting better at all.
That's crazy. It was also fucking the early strains were really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my sense of smell and taste, which was the most disorienting thing in my life. It was really good for my diet because I ate like shit I hate, like asparagus and Brussels sprouts and like all these things that I should eat.
Somebody told me to suck on limes and lemons to stimulate your tongue and your taste buds, and that's what I did.
Fireballs, you know, the candy fireballs, the little red. I ate an entire bag, and by the time I was done with the bag, I got my smell and taste back.
Nice.
Fucking ruined my mouth, but like it
well,
worked.
The lemon and the limes, they probably didn't do anything good for me because following that, I had to get like a bunch of teeth surgery. But then again, that was not really because of the lemons and limes. I'm just sure they didn't help. But now it's like I eat a lemon and it like tastes like an apple.
Oh wow, that's weird. So bizarre.
And I cannot go in steam rooms or saunas because I legit feel like I'm suffocating. Like,
wow.
It's to the point where I'm like sitting there gagging for air. I'm like, get me out of here. Like, it's so bad.
I like a sauna.
So like my breathing is a little messed up after it as well.
Yeah, that happened to one of my buddies too.
Yeah.
You said something super important. It was like these really bad things that happened to you. You went to therapy, like you got over it. How much time do you think it took for you to like put those things in the rearview mirror to look at them in like the positive-ish light that you like clearly look at them as now? Because like I look at like things like losing my job during COVID now as the single greatest blessing in my life. Mm-hmm. When it happened in the moment, I was like, my life's over. I'm fucked. Like it's over.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to like look for it as like the learning experience and the positive impact that it is?
It's almost immediate. Like the moment I find a resolution to a problem, I move on. Because I can say even from like a young age when I started getting interested in dating, like the moment someone was not for me, I did not hesitate. Like I got rid of them. Like
Good
I was
for
like,
you.
bye.
I wish.
Bye. Like my first like real boyfriend, when we were breaking up, he was like, well, I think I need a break. I'm going into my senior year. And I was like, no, we're not doing a break. You're either with me or you're not. Because I'm not going to sit around and wait a couple days to a couple weeks to find out if
you want to be with me or not.
I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time. Like, tell me or not. And he was like, in that case, he's like, then yeah, I think we were breaking up. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was distraught for like a day and then I got over it. I'm like, I still was sad, but I wasn't crying about it every day. I was just like, at least I'm not wasting any more of my time. I'm like, I'm always going to have love for this guy, but he's no longer mine. Like, he's no longer for me. And we're still friends to this day. I wish him the absolute best. He's amazing. I still hang out with his family. Not as much because they don't live anywhere near here, but like, absolutely nothing but love for that guy. Like, he was the best love of my life, but he was my first. Mm-hmm. And even then, I was like, who the fuck told me to be that strong?
That's so gangster.
I was like 16, 17.
That's crazy.
But that's the thing is, like, after him...
So you're just born with that?
I don't know. Because after him, the moment anybody showed me any signs of like, I did not deserve that, gone. Like, I didn't hesitate to write them off. So realistically... I think it just kind of transferred. Like, the moment I find a resolution to any issue, I'm like, all right,
That's
on to the
incredible.
next.
I give that advice a lot. Like, once someone's like showed you the person that they are and that doesn't work for you, like, fuck them, get them out of your life.
Yeah.
I don't know that I do that for myself, but like, I give that advice a lot. I think it's
True.
great advice to give to someone.
I've sat with so many people who were like talking about their issues and all this crap with like their partners, and I'm like, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
And like, I understand that the way I live is truly not applicable. It's not a viable expectation to implement on anyone else, because they can't exactly feel or maneuver through the feelings that I have and that I have been able to access and really persevere on. So like, I get that me saying that sounds pretty loaded, because they're like, what do you mean? And I'm in a very healthy relationship right now. We've been going strong, long distance for the past over 2 years.
Nice.
And he is the best partner I've ever had. Oh. I won't say like the other ones weren't great. Like, I've had a lot of failed love interests. I've not had a lot of boyfriends. But he is so healthy. He's so good for me. But I know for a fact that if he were to ever lay his hand on me, if he were to ever cheat on me, he's gone. I don't care how much I fucking love that boy.
Yeah.
That is my make or break. Like,
but it sounds like you were just basically like born that way. And it's like, I don't know very many people who have that mindset. That's gangster. That's like fucking powerful as shit. No, but seriously, like,
I need like the
do
little,
you know any of your
meme
friends
with the sunglasses and the Snoop Dogg song.
I mean, I'm sure you could say none of your friends have, like, maybe once I reached 30, like, I sort of started feeling that way. Like, what's meant for me will be for me. Like, I'm not going to chase, I'm going to attract, like, that kind of stuff. But like, I still like feel like if I had a connection with a girl and I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Like, I'm going to marry this girl. This is the best. Like, there's a part of me that would like always think in the back of my mind, like, oh, like maybe one day she'll come back.
Yeah. My love interest before him, it was a guy that I met before I moved to New York City, and we were going at it for about 3 years, and we never really put any title on it. And I was okay with that, because I was like, honestly, I'm just happy. Like, this works. Our chemistry's great. We get along. Like, he's one of the few people in this life that literally knows me to my absolute core, like one of the few. And like, he knows everything about me. He knows why I act the way I do, like just every single detail about me. And I wouldn't say that it's wasted on him, because we're no longer, in that entanglement with each other. But there was never any stress either to do that. But once I started feeling more, I was like, I need to find out how this guy feels, because if he doesn't love me, because I'm starting to approach that feeling with him, I'm like, if he doesn't love me, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I stay longer than I already have, and my feelings are growing and I need more from him, I can't stay. So when he told me, like, plain and simple, he was just like, I can't see you being somebody that I can love forever, or let alone even that he was in love with. And he was even like, I love you.
That's so hard to be told that.
Because he was like, I love you, but I'm like, I'm not in love with you. And I'm just like, at that point, we'd been seeing each other for about 3 years, and I'm just like, that's what I needed to hear. And he was even like, we can still keep going. Like, we can still...
Closure is so important.
And he was like, we can still keep going and doing what we're doing. I'm like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
No, we can't. Because at the same time, like, I haven't said the L word yet, but I feel it. I feel like it's coming. But I was just like, I gotta go. Like, I can't stay here. I can't do this with you. Like, you're keeping me from my mourning process of you, which, like, we didn't talk for 2 months, and then
it was 3 years.
Yeah, and then we reconvened, because I mean, you talk to somebody every day for 3 years, and then you just have to cut them off cold turkey, and that's what I did. I was like, we can't talk to each other.
Yeah, it's like quitting cigarettes.
Yeah,
like it's a habit. Yeah.
And eventually, like, we did speak, and after that time period, like, we sat down and we had the communication where, like, we appreciated every single moment, every single minute that we shared, and that became like such a huge part of me, because he was the one who showed me how I deserved to be treated, like what I needed to do to actually be in a healthy relationship. Because with him, it was healthy. It wasn't a traditional relationship. It was just kind of like, well, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, but we are, like, we're a thing. And like, I knew his family. I stayed at his house, and like, it's one of those, like, it's a weird place to be in between, and it, like, I don't think it's even weird for me to still talk about, because we're still friends.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with my boyfriend now about it, and I'm just like, if you can't accept that him and I still have a relationship, we don't hang out, we don't like go out of our way to speak to each other and make it, disrespectful for our significant others, because he's got a girlfriend too. I met her, she's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's the sense of if somebody's going to be in my life from this point on, my new partner needs to accept that at whatever capacity it is. Because when I first met that boy too, I said, this person's going to be in my life my whole life. I just don't know how. I don't know what that looks like.
What made you think that?
I just knew. I just knew that this was going to be like a forever person for me.
Wow.
And now I know like he wasn't my forever.
Have you ever had that thought mindset and then that person not remained in your life at all?
No, I mean, I did tell myself, I mean, I feel bad if he hears this podcast, but like I did tell myself that if he was the person I was going to end up with, I was going to be so happy.
Oh.
And I had that realization. It wasn't, delusional. I was just like, this is somebody that really will make me happy because he's doing that now. And it's okay that he's not, because I'm sure we've met plenty of people in our lives that's like, this person could be marriage material, but I'm not ready for marriage right now.
True.
Yeah. So it's just like, he was a great person and he still is. It's just, he's not my person.
Ooh.
But he's one of my absolute best friends and will always be.
I think that's a super mature mindset. I don't think you can. I think you can feel that way like in your early 20s, right? Like to be able to be like so mature about like the process of getting over someone to then maintain a relationship with them. Like I know like 25-year-old John could not have fucking done that. 39-year-old John could. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, even for me, a lot of my past love interests, like I'm friends with almost all of them. Like there's a couple that I can list off. Like one was physically aggressive. Another one was, he ended up getting married or still dating the girl. I don't know if they're married or not. I really have no idea. I wasn't following the storyline hard enough, but I know they had kids, and then he was always reaching out and trying to like cheat on her with me. And I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
And I literally was like, absolutely fucking not, bro. Like we had our time. You have a kid and you have a woman. Treat them with honor and respect. And if you
fuck is wrong with
and if
people?
you don't want to be with them, then figure that out.
Yeah.
But don't do it
like behind their back.
I was like, I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm like, you need to figure your shit out.
Grow up.
Because I'm like, you clearly have an issue that you need to fix. You have an itch that you need to scratch. And if you can't do it with your girlfriend / wife, whatever she is, then
what makes you think I'm that person? Right. Yeah.
Fix that. Don't bring me into it to break it more. I like cut him off. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
like, you are not getting me involved in this.
That's crazy. And also like, I hate how messy people are that they would use that situation to like reach out to someone from their past to help like create the wedge between their life that they have that they don't want. It's like, don't be fucking messy.
Yeah.
Grow the fuck up. Exactly. That's crazy.
Like my favorite instance of something like this that happened recently. Will not say names. All I know is my old roommate, her ex, reached out to her the day of the earthquakes here in the city.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
And he was like, "Hey babe, I know we had an earthquake today." And he's like, "I just wanted to make sure you're okay." And I was like, everyone hit up their exes today and make sure they're okay. There was an earthquake. This is your in.
Yeah.
Fucking use it.
Hey, babe, these fires in California got me really thinking about the fire that still burns inside of me when I think about you.
But I'm not laughing at him. I was just like, damn. No. I was like, he cares.
Yeah.
He cares so much. That girl got her world rocked and she rocked his. Like, this is crazy.
I think, listen, I've had a lot of failed love interests in my life. I think one of the beautiful things about it as you get older is I've learned so much about myself through those failed experiences.
Well, yeah, and like the things that became significant in our past, like we look back on fondly as we're getting older. Like I'm excited for the woman I'm going to be when I have a lawn to tell children to get off of. But like right now, I'm excited about the fact that like, oh my gosh, my memories with like my friends in college, and it's just like, damn, we really are growing up fast. But you want to know what? We were so excited to do that. And I'm like, I think I had a conversation with my mom, not last year, but the year before. And I was like, I understand that you were like telling me like, don't grow up so fast and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you didn't tell me it was going to be this fucking sad. I'm like, you did not express that at all. You did not say a thing about that. Mm-hmm. You just said, don't do it. Take your time. Enjoy where you are. And I'm like, but you didn't tell me everybody was going to be sad as shit and they're from like 22 on.
Well, you know,
come on, Mom. Like, you could have warned me about that part.
I don't know what the expression is. It's something like youth is wasted on the young, right? Mm-hmm. And like in hindsight, like my parents told me a lot. Like life goes quick. Like you need to be prepared for the fact that like you're 15 now. Pretty soon you're going to be 40 and be like, what the fuck happened? And like it's remarkable the speed in which your life jumps. Like It's crazy.
But I still try to live through those moments. Like a lot of times when I find myself in empty space of thoughts, like I just like reminisce on like a memory, and I'm just like, let me just play the little montage in my head real quick because it's mine. And I know other people share that with me too. Like there was a summer where I was hanging out with all these guys. That sounds bad. No, so
we'll cut that.
No. Listen. No, keep it. I want to elaborate. Okay.
Go on.
I need to tell the story. Okay, let me tell it. It wasn't like a Five Guys burgers and fries or the whole menu kind of ordeal. It was legit like these guys were my most genuine friends. But I swear to God, these guys were going to get me arrested. Like,
oh my God.
The shit that we would do. And they would bring me because they were like, you're just like one of the guys. Like, you're one of the homies. Because I really was. I grew up with tons of brothers. Mm-hmm. And I was just always more drawn to having guys as friends. And I had very, very few female friends. It wasn't until I became a model that I started having girlfriends. But growing up, I was always like the joke of the day of like a hot dog down a hallway, that must be Alexis. Like, no, none of them ever touched me. They would literally kill for me if someone touched me. Like one of my friends went to a guy's like house with a baseball bat once. My brother did that too, but another friend of mine did it too because they were like, this guy hurt Alexis.
Good.
And like those were the kind of friends. And we spent an entire summer together. And I was at college or at school. At college and work. Sorry. Anyways, I was at one or the other, and they would always wait, or they'd go to work and whatnot, do their thing, and they would wait until I'd get out. Sometimes some of them would come and pick up my keys to my apartment and go hang out in my apartment until I got out of work, and then we'd go do something. And sometimes it wasn't always the best thing, you know? Like, it was breaking into a creek that had, you know, swimming restrictions, and we were there past
slow bar.
Well, we were there past the allotted time you were supposed to be there, and apparently one of my friends in the car, we didn't know that he had a warrant out for his arrest, so we were like, what the fuck?
Well, that was dumb.
Yeah, so we got out of that situation, but that would have been really bad.
Yeah,
I love that dude. I was just like, when he told us that, he was like, I don't have my ID. Because, like, the police officer asked for our IDs and whatever, and we were like, why don't you have our ID? And he's like, because I knew we were coming to do this. And I was like, well, why didn't you bring your ID if you knew we were coming to do this outside of, you know, the allotted swimming hours? And he's like, yeah, I have a warrant for my arrest. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, you were one of my homies and you forgot to tell me this?
Yeah. That you're a wanted man.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck? And then there was another night that my friends and I, this will probably get me in trouble if it circulates back to my hometown, but they wanted to go steal a wizard staff from a statue on a property somewhere. And I just remember them sneaking out of my car, and I was the getaway driver, okay? I was fucking Gandalf's white horse. And
what a reference.
I'm just sitting in the fucking car, and like they're disappeared in the freaking black of night. And I had all the windows down, cars off, whatever. And parked a little away from the house.
Getaway car, you gotta got the car running.
No, I had to. It was a quiet. I'm talking like no cows in sight.
Oh my
God. Like it was a quiet hill in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden I just hear whispering, run, go, start the car. And they hop in, and one of them's carrying this giant stick in the back, the other one's carrying the one with a little bulb at the end of it. And I was just like, what the fuck? You guys really stole a staff. Like, I thought they were kidding. And then we proceeded to go back to this one little area where people would always have fires. It was called Casey Road in my hometown. And, like, we just relit the fire because we were there before, conspiring the thought process of stealing the staff. Which, mind you, I'm completely sober. I didn't drink. I maybe smoked a little weed back then, but barely. And, like, they were, like, just, you know, sipping on alcohol. We were all of age. We were just, like, dumb.
What did you do with the staff?
We just partied around the fire with it, like...
And then left it there?
One of them definitely took it. I just can't remember who. I just know that it was so stupid. And I'm just
should use that in a prop for your next one.
Well, not only that, but, like, we're in the middle of the countryside of upstate New York, which is...
There's 12 people. Yeah.
There's 12 people, a lot of Amish, a lot of horses. And... I'm like, people have shotguns here. Like, if they shoot you at a close proximity, your arm is coming off. If they shoot you at a far proximity, that bullet is not going through you.
Yeah. Swiss cheese.
So I'm just like, you guys are dumb. But that was probably the best summer of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they realize it, but it was literally the best summer of my life. One of my friends lived with me for 2 weeks. I was like, oh, okay, I have a roommate. I'd come home, he'd still be on my couch, and I'm like,
how long are you staying here?
I'm like, you still have a home, right? Like, you still have a room at your mom's. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm just
Cool,
checking.
just checking, yeah. You didn't move in and not tell me.
Yeah, he was trying to earn squatters' rights for sure. I loved him. But these were all like my absolute closest friends. Like, did some of them like confess their love to me at some points? Yeah. But like I turned them down gently and we continued to be friends. So.
Do you think men and women can be just friends?
Oh, absolutely. I have been friends with so many guys where nothing's ever accumulated. And even,
don't you think like one of them is always in love with the other one? To some varying...
I've definitely been in situations where I've never been in love with any of my friends. Like, I can appreciate a good-looking person.
Yeah.
But, like...
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're all feral. Like, I get it. We have, like, chemicals and, like, these urges. And, like, I get it. Like, if a guy smells good, I'm going to be like, you smell good. I'm not going to be like, take me. Like, Jesus Christ,
We don't live in a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this isn't Sex in the City where you have sex with a person every goddamn episode.
Yes.
I mean, like, I wish I had a hoe phase. I might have. Yeah. Honestly, I might have.
I feel like I'm going through, like, I'm on my hoe phase now, but like...
Are you cool?
Yeah, like, I'm just like... I was talking to my buddy. I'm a little bit of a homebody, too, so it's, like, not exactly, like, a hoe phase.
Unless
I don't
you come to my house before I had dinner, especially if there's dairy in that dinner, then it's on. Yeah. But if you want me to come to your house, fuck. It's not happening.
So it's, like, it's so funny. So, like, these last 5 years have been so up and down for me, like financially, relationally, like just life has been super hard. I'm finally like saw my way through it. Like I'm financially stable. I've got money. I've got a great apartment. I've got a great job, life.
So you're ready to live through the whole phase, and then whatever comes from that, you're prepared.
Yeah.
You're
also,
ready to go.
I'm on the line because like my life is perfect. So I'm ready to share it with someone. I'm also petrified of everything that means because like, I'm like, my life is really good. I could fuck that up really bad by introducing someone to it that's not the right person, which like history would tell you.
Yeah, but
like,
I think it takes a little bit of time,
Yeah.
If she brings a crystal on the first date, maybe, hold off a second before you bring her to your house.
Definitely sleep with her, but don't marry her.
Yeah, but sleep with her at her place.
Those crystal girls, yeah. Well, I've got a doorman, so she can't just come in.
I got nothing against it, because I have a crystal, too. My roommates bought me a crystal in the shape of a penis, and I was just like...
Please, when we get off the pod, please show me a picture of that. That's amazing.
I don't have a picture of it, but I'll send you it.
All right, thanks.
I'll literally send you a crystal dick pic.
That's amazing.
It's so tiny. It's like smaller than my pinky, and my pinky's pretty small. But
see, I would expect
they were like, "It's your first crystal," and I have so much sexual objects to the point where I could have a shrine if I really wanted to.
Like a dick shrine?
Well, no, just a sex shrine.
Okay.
But like, it's something that I never thought I needed. I still don't need it. I just know that I have plenty for it.
Yeah.
Like I have a butt candle. I have a woman's naked body base. I have
that's cool though.
Penis crystal. I have a woman body candle. I have a woman body sculpture. I have a half naked Greek statue in my room. But then again, I grabbed that off the street. I wouldn't say grabbed it. I made my boyfriend carry it.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
I had stitches in my mouth, so excuse.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't.
Mouth is super important for carrying things.
Yeah. Well, no, you have no idea. Like I had stitches in my mouth constantly. Not last year, but in 2023, because all my dental surgeries and like I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. I was like on a very until my stitches were completely dissolved. I could not. I did a raspberry in my boyfriend's stomach, and one of the stitches blew out of my gum. I like immediately screamed, and he's sitting there laughing at me. I was like, no, my mouth is bleeding. Like I see the stitch just dangling out of my freaking gum, and I was like,
why did I do that?
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
You would think, like, don't. It wasn't in the like guidelines of what not to do. It's like, don't lift 10 pounds.
They're like, don't use a straw. Also, don't give your boyfriend a raspberry.
Yeah. It's fucking stupid.
I'm very curious. Like, clearly, you've had a lot of life that you've lived in a 30-year period.
Oh yeah, I've been a parent. I feel like I'm ready to be a retiree, but my bank account's like, you think like absolutely not.
When you look towards like the future, like I feel like we're talking at a great time. It's January. It's like new year, new me. I'm debuting a new mustache.
30.
Like like there's so much to look forward to in January every year, even though like the weather sucks and it's cold and shit. When you start like looking to the future, like what do you want for yourself? Like, and what do you do to like build that life further out for yourself?
I mean, as far as like I know that this is kind of alluding towards New Year resolution. I don't have one. I just told myself.
Fuck resolutions.
Yeah. I just told myself I'm going to do better than I did last year. Like,
I like that.
Let's be smarter with our money.
Yes.
Let's be cautious with our position at work, because my boss is one of the best guys in the world. Like, he is too good for this planet. And he's been very considerate of the fact that I'm like, I'm going to go to Asia in a couple weeks. And he's like, okay.
Where are you going?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I would
just
tell
in
him.
general, yeah,
I'd be like, I'm going to Thailand. He's like, all right. I'm like, I'm going to Bali. And I'm going to Mexico. And I'm sure in the back of his head, he's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, are you going to come to work?
Yeah,
like,
really
which I do.
That unlimited PTO.
I do. Yeah, no. Well, I don't get paid. If I'm not working, I don't get paid.
Okay, gotcha.
So, realistically, like, he's been so considerate. He's been so on my side about everything, especially with all these opportunities. And I feel like modeling's at an all-time high for me, especially with travel. Like, I've been traveling constantly since that door opened. Like, as soon as I got my passport, I'm like, where else can I go?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, let's go. Stamp. Like, somebody told me yes, and I could afford it, or if something was accommodated, I was like,
done.
You just said, like, you barely even got to finish the word Japan. Like, by the time you said Jap, I was like, let's go.
Sweet.
So, in a lot of ways, looking at the future, like, I know that I want to be a mom someday. I don't care how. I legitimately do not care how. If my biological clock runs out, I am prepared for surrogate. I am prepared for IVF. I'm prepared for adoption. Whatever that entails, I know I'm going to be a mom someday, whether I do it alone, whether I don't. And my older brother was the one who said that first. He had a conversation with one of my parents once saying, like, if Lex wants to have a kid, she's going to. If she wants to be a mom, she's going to be. She doesn't need to do it with anyone. And I was just like, the moment I heard my brother say that, I'm like, you want to know what? He's fucking right. Like, I know I want to be a mom. But I never really looked at my future as having a partner. Like, I always thought, like, I was going to be, like, a solo journey, because I'm, like, terribly independent.
See, I feel that way about myself.
I'm so independent. It's insane. Like, I've found more people to be dependent on me for things than anything.
Same.
And sometimes I even think, like, if I die tomorrow, somebody's going to, like, look at my phone and look at my planner and look all the things that I have transpiring and be like, Jesus Christ, this poor girl.
Yeah.
Because, like, sometimes I'm like scared that I am going to forget to breathe. So realistically, it's just, it's as haywire as people think it is. But when I have my me time, nobody knows where the fuck I am or what I'm doing.
Unplugged.
And I love it.
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
The moment I get some me time, like, people think I'm truly busy. I am up here.
Yeah.
In my brain, cogs are going all day long. But realistically, it's like the moment I get a break, no one is going to hear from me. Even my boyfriend's, like, confused sometimes. Like, he asks me to send him my schedule, and he's, like, never sure of what I'm doing. He's like, can you send me your monthly schedule, weekly schedule, whatever? Because he's even like, your life is confusing. And I'm like, yeah, try living it. I'm confused. The moment I wake up, I'm like, fuck, what do I got to do today? But then I know.
Yeah.
And it's the days that I wake up and I know exactly what I got to do that I'm like,
stressed. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm excited to do all of it.
Same.
It's the waking up and getting ready to do it that I dread.
Oh, yeah. I hate getting out of bed.
Yeah.
But I have a great bed.
Yeah,
but
same. But future, to, like, elaborate on that, it's just like, I want to see myself become more of what I'm not being right now. And that is truly because I see myself becoming a creature of habit so much to where, like, modeling's not a forever job. I know it can't be, unless you're, like, one of the latest and greatest out there, that you can make it something that you can do forever. However, it is temporary without, proper maintenance and, keeping up on tabs with things. So I see that, becoming a thing for me a little bit longer, because realistically, I can't deal with the, like, severity of, like, it's not as stable as everyone would think it is.
Yeah.
And, like, the parent thing, like, I don't care when that happens. I just know I want it to happen. And I have a partner now who's healthy. I want to see where that goes. But I used to always say this, and, like, I haven't told anybody about this thought, but I used to always tell people constantly, like, the end goal was always to just be so happy. But happiness is such a false end goal, I've learned. Like, to sit here and tell yourself, like, I just want to be happy. Of course you just want to be happy. But if that's your entire goal, you will never be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like, happiness is something that we all chase so undyingly. And once we obtain it, we are temporarily appeased. But our happiness is still not at its fulfillment.
Yeah.
We need more.
Yeah.
We're a creature of substance. Like, we need so much more on our plate. We need to keep on going. There's a reason why we go back to the buffet. We go for a second plate. We need more.
Yeah.
And that is what I've learned about, like, my end goal always be, I just want to be happy. Like, at the end of this life, like, I want to look back and be happy. I could die tomorrow. Knock on whatever the fuck this material is. Okay.
Yeah.
Knock on wood and the fake shit on it. That I know that I would be happy. I've said this to people. I've said to people multiple times. Because I've had to unfortunately deal with the thought of death. But I digress. It's the fact that being faced with as much death as I've seen firsthand, foremost, closest people, some very scary situations where it's unfortunately been some people's outcomes, and I've been close to them. It's the aspect of, if I were to die tomorrow, I know that I would die happy with everything that I was able to do. I know that I would be pissed because I didn't get to do everything that I planned.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be pissed because they saw so much more for me, and as did I. But I would have been able to do everything I possibly could have with the time that I was given.
I love that.
But I know for a fact I would be pissed, but at that point, I have no more thoughts to give.
Yeah.
Everyone around me, I know, would be pissed.
I think you touched upon something that's really important, because it's something that I've been struggling with lately, is I'm very happy, but I'm wildly discontent. So how I move now in the world is figuring out how to be content and comfortable in my space when I'm not doing anything, when I'm not shooting, when I'm not recording a podcast, when I'm not working, when I'm just sitting home, reading a book, watching a movie. Like, I think happiness is such a bland goal that it's very achievable. Yeah. I'm very happy. I wake up very happy. I feel very
absolutely.
blessed.
Like, I can relate with
Very
like your
lucky.
statement, because I feel as though I'm in the same place. Like, I'm happy, but there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that. And it's more so, I've found so many different things that have brought that feeling of happiness, and like, you want to hold on to it ever so tightly. But again, it's always going to be unachievable, because you can, I mean, I could sit here and say I'm happy. There's a lot of things that bring me unhappiness, for sure. And there's certain things that bring me that I personally cannot change. I can sit here and say I do not like this, but there is really a lot of things I can't change. Like, it's just like, I just have to live with this.
Yeah.
But it's finding ways to navigate away from it, so I have less of that, because I don't want to keep on, putting myself near that. However, yeah, like the unsettling feeling of being like, well, this like discontent with the feeling, it's just kind of like,
It's unnerving.
I am generally happy.
Do
And
you know
how you said it as well. Like, but there's some weirdness that lingers alongside of it.
The great thing that I know of, having experienced this feeling before, is that this discomfort tends to lead to the biggest breakthroughs. Like, I felt wildly unfulfilled with my life before I lost my job in COVID, and it took losing my job and like relinquishing that feeling of not being comfortable or content to realize that something wasn't for me. So it's like, I know that what I'm feeling right now is something I've experienced before, and I know what to do with that feeling.
Yeah.
Which is like, now I have a tool in my tool shed in my apartment that I can use to fucking deal with this. I'm super happy. Why am I not content? And I think that's a great place to be in, because if I was in the place that I was in 5 years ago, I wouldn't have the tools to be able to deal with what I'm feeling.
Because why do you think, I mean, just I've thought about fame, I've thought about celebrities a lot, not in the sense of I follow any of them. I have no idea who half of them are. It's like people bring up people all the time, and it doesn't make me better than anyone. It's just I got bigger fish to fry, and I don't cater to the game. It's just like they're well known for what they do for their lives, and it's even the sense of like, again, the law of attraction. Like, I've always told myself I don't want fame. I instill that thought in my brain. I don't want it. It's not for me. I want to go to the grocery store, and sometimes I'm even like on the subway, and like I think about what I do. Like, I think about how I travel, what I look like, and whatnot, and I'm just like, these people have no idea how cool life is for me. And I love the fact that I can just get on a subway and not be bothered.
Mm.
I still get on subways and I'm still bothered. Somebody stopped me in the bar the other day and asked for my autograph and took a photo with me, which is so strange.
Really?
But the thing is, like, it's strange in the fact that it hasn't happened to me in like a month.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
You have a pretty significant Instagram following, so I'm surprised
Barely,
it doesn't
though.
happen.
Like, I don't think
it's like,
I
it's
don't
all
think
relative.
it's significant enough for that to be happening. But since I moved to New York City, like, it happens all the time.
So here's my thought process, and something that I've struggled with a lot is that I don't have a lot of Instagram followers, and I have to constantly remind myself that like 5,000 people, if I showed up and brought 5,000 people into my studio, they wouldn't fit. Right?
Yeah.
So like when you look at like someone who's got 100,000 or whatever, it's like that's a football stadium size amount of people, but we're just so conditioned from a social media perspective to that like the bigger the number, the better. And I've had to teach myself out of that mindset. But I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened to you more because you have a pretty...
I mean, it has happened to me a lot.
Yeah.
But even before I moved to New York City, there was one girl that stopped me in, like, I think it was, like, the Michigan airport or something. She, like, ran up to me. She was like, can I give you a hug? I follow you on Instagram. And this was years ago.
That's so funny.
And I was just like, sure. I gave her a hug. And, like, she's like, can I take a photo of you? Of you. And I was just like, sure. And, like, just, me
so
with my
weird.
carry-on bag. I'm just like, hey. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm not a stranger to it, but I've had my tiny little slivers.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I want to go on about my day.
There's a reason why I like being on the other side of the camera than in front of it.
Well, that's the thing is, like, everybody sees me. Like, people have asked me if I wanted to do AI, and I'm like, absolutely not. I didn't work this hard for people to not see my images.
Yeah, fuck
like,
that, yeah.
I'm just like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, same. Stupid.
So, realistically, it's just like after I die, then, like, then use the AI on me, you know, like keep me alive, keep me going. I want to bug these fuckers as long as I can.
I do think about that a lot because, like, you know, I feel similarly to you. Like, if I died tomorrow, like, I'd be very content with the life that I've lived and like what I've built for myself. Wouldn't be happy about it, obviously. I want to live forever. But like, you do get to a certain age. Like, I'm going to be 40 in a year, right? December. Like, legacy and like what I'm leaving behind starts to creep into your mind. Like, my grandfathers both died in their 40s. So like, while I'm in good health, like, there's no fucking guarantee for tomorrow. Yeah. It's like what you leave behind is like something that you start thinking of as you get older.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to make as big of an impact as possible, not for egotistical purposes, because like people always say like no one gives a shit about you unless you're dead or underage. I'm serious.
I know.
There's a song about it, one of my favorite artists, but it's the fact of like the amount of people that I touched and was able to give something back to their lives to where their lives accumulated more value. Because like I've met famous people and they don't increase my value.
Yeah.
They don't make me cooler.
No.
Not what's I can say who I freaking know right now. It does not make me any cooler.
No.
Like it's just I know them.
Yeah.
And it's in that aspect of like I want not to say that famous people can't do this too. Like they have personalities, they have loved ones, whatever.
They're human beings.
Yes, exactly. We shit the same way.
Yes.
Sometimes I guess, you know, if you have a cool gold bidet in your house, it's different.
Or if you're into weird shit, somewhere else.
Well, yeah, but they have the money for that. Yeah. So I don't. Rich people problems. I have first world problems. They have rich people problems.
Same.
Like when they release
when I think
all these little
think about like
secrets,
I don't have this is like a very privileged place to come from, but like I've really worked really hard on my life. Like I don't have actual problems. Like I don't. Like the first world problems thing is like a legit thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to worry about where my next meal comes from. I don't have to worry about where I'm sleeping. Like I am privileged, and that's not lost on me. I've also worked my fucking ass off to get to a place of comfort.
Oh yeah, because I've had nights. I've been homeless twice.
Oh fuck.
And I've definitely been in a position where sometimes I haven't had money to go buy groceries, or I can't because I'm like I need that for this bill or that bill. But even New York City, if I didn't have these model apps, I would not be able to afford to live here. I would not.
Yeah.
Like, half the time, if you see me going to a restaurant because they're giving me a free meal, it's most likely because I don't have food at home. I do have food at home. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't. I'm talking not chips, not pasta again for the third time. Like, I'm talking like a meal. Like, chicken, steak, whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have that luxury. I can easily go to the cheapest grocery store and buy those things because you want to know what? I am fortunate enough to have access to those things. I can't say that I've been in that spot as of lately, but I've been there. I've certainly been there. And it's, one of my friends always says, like, you came out of the gutter. And I'm like, yeah, a really shiny one.
Yeah.
The gutter nonetheless. But still, it's just the aspect of, you know, remember where you came from, remember what you did to get to where you are. And
love that.
The thing is the morality along the lines of the things that you did. Because, I mean, I have friends who have done some sketchy shit to get where they are. So I get it. Sacrifice, reward, all that bullshit that you have to consider. But to get the things you want, it's worse if you lose yourself in the process.
Oh, man, I totally agree.
Like, I've seen people throw away parts of them and their souls to get the things that they want.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
If you have to compromise who you are as a person for money or for fame or for whatever, I don't personally think it's worth it.
Exactly.
If you have to compromise anything about yourself to do something, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kind of alludes toward the conversation of, like, the future. It's just, like, taking what I can, because I've certainly been a scrappy little dog up until this point. So, like, people offering me things that just, like, are obvious, yes. Like, the trip that I just went on recently with the Beyond the Pines group, like, these people are going to be at my wedding. Like, these are my new friends, but they're also, like, a chosen family that was chosen for me, and I am so happy with it. Like, I love my biological family to absolute no end. I've done things for them that I will never regret and never take back. Like, I gave them more than half my life for their lives to be okay. So realistically, like, now that I have reins on my own life and I'm getting introduced to all these other people that are bringing me more life and love and family, like, aspects, like, I couldn't have asked for a better time, because I literally felt like I was a lost little dog until they came along. And I'm like, it makes sense, because it's not what people think it is. It's not a photo shoot trip. And I can get into that another time. I don't want to...
Episode 2.
Yeah. That's like a whole different ball game. And I'm sure they would love for me to talk about it so people can actually really understand what it is. Because so many girls are like, oh, I want to go on this trip. I want these shoots. And even I thought that too. I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't in their shoes, because I didn't know what it was either. And now that I know, I'm like, everybody needs to know what this is. And we'll talk about it eventually.
Episode 2,
the next one.
Sponsored by Beyond the Pines.
Yeah, right. Matt would actually love that.
Yeah.
Matt being the owner. Anyways.
Well, we can get him on for sure.
I mean, he lives in Japan.
We cannot get him on. We can digitally have him on.
We'll Zoom call him.
Yeah. Exactly.
He'll have 10 minutes because that man works nonstop. Sometimes it's hard for me even to get on the phone with him, and we actually have so much things that we need to, like, discuss and go over. But anyways, I digress. It's the fact of, like, everything about the future freaks me out. My past is so much more comfortable to live in because it's already written. It's already there. And then my present is just like, sometimes I say this to people constantly too. Like, I feel like I'm someone that is intelligent enough to make sure they don't get kidnapped or killed. But I'm ignorant enough to the fact that if I walked by a giant raging fire on the side of the street, which I have in Williamsburg when I lived there, I am so ignorant to the fact of this is not causing me harm. I'm just gonna walk by and fire. I gotta go to the subway. Like, that's where a lot of my ignorance can sometimes, be a default for me in some regard. Like how I was saying earlier, like sometimes people don't really know my intelligence, and that's okay, but I think it's because a lot of it I hold on to it for myself. I don't express it enough for people to truly think that I am this intellectual character other than what they already know. Yeah. And I think it's because I don't allow a lot of people to really know too much about me. Like, just when people thought they knew a lot, it's just like, trust me, you think you're getting surface area. Like, you're not. I don't really let anybody truly fully know me anymore, because just transaction of time is so important. Like, it's the best currency out there. Yeah, so it's like, I'm not going to waste their time if they got bigger fish to fry themselves. Like, if they want to sit here and ask me a question, I will answer every goddamn question you ever ask me to its fullest capacity, because I'm a yapper. I talk. But if I hear it back, like the one thing when you were like, have you done podcasts before? I do not listen to podcasts I've been on, because sometimes I hear myself talking, I'm like, shut up. up.
All right. Well, the good news is I will edit the podcast and you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah, you can just tune my voice a little bit, make me sound like Stephen Hawking. That'd be sick.
Okay, Alexis. Thank you. No, in all seriousness, I think the time analogy is super important because as you get older, I invest my time with people, places, and things that are meaningful to me. Mm-hmm. So when someone comes on my podcast, gives me an hour of their time to have this conversation, I'm incredibly appreciative. Thank you so much for being on today. This has been a really wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I hope we can do another one.
Absolutely. Episode 2 coming soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Beyond the Pines and then other things we'll talk about.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.